Welcome everybody to the first episode of the PNR Show. My name is Paul Insho Rothrock, your host, and I'm so excited to be starting this podcast. I'm a freshman at Southeastern University and an aspiring sports broadcaster. And listen, I love college football. I believe it's the greatest sport on planet Earth. I believe there's nothing like it. The tradition, the pageantry, the fans, you is what makes it so special. And I only believe that it is going to continue to get better. The plan for this show is to have 2, maybe 3 episodes per week. We'll have recaps, we'll have picks and previews, and we'll have something midweek that we can provide to you guys. And it'll be on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you can get it. All right, we're going to post clips on Instagram, and it's just going to be a good time. My goal is to be a voice of college football that is unbiased, that is factual, and that is fun. At the end of the day, college football is fun. That's what makes it so amazing. And I cannot wait. Let's get into it. At the time of this recording, it is October 27th. So that means we have a Week 9 recap coming up. And of course, breaking news coming out of Baton Rouge, Brian Kelly and offensive coordinator Joe Sloan fired following their 49-25 loss to Texas A&M. And listen, I'm just going to say this. Brian Kelly was never the answer at LSU. He was never the answer. He did not understand what it meant to be a Louisiana State University Tiger. He never understood it. And we knew that the first day that he stepped on campus and he gave us that fake Southern accent, we knew Brian Kelly was not the answer. He just wasn't. See, here's the thing about college football is there are a lot of guys, specifically in the coaching pool, that know how to win. Brian Kelly knew how to win. We saw that at Notre Dame. He knew how to win. But what makes college football unique is it's not just about winning. It's about the culture. Every single program in college football has a unique culture. Specifically LSU. They have one of the deepest and best traditions and cultures in all of college football. And anyone who is hired at LSU should know that. But Brian Kelly did not know that. He did not know how to use the culture that LSU has already set from their previous years of success. He didn't know how to use it. He came in thinking that he would take his own culture and his own way of winning and that he would automatically just win because he won at Notre Dame. But college football doesn't work like that. There's a lot of times where there's a home run hire, they take a big swing, but if the guy doesn't understand the culture that is previously set, it does not matter and it won't work. So here's the thing about college football as we know it today, is it's a business. And I believe that LSU is going to have to make a hire like a business. Let me explain. See, when you have a business, typically, and you fire the head guy, you either, one, hire somebody from within who understands the culture, understands what it means to win, but knows the tradition has been there and someone who can elevate them. Or you hire someone else, right, from outside the business who is a known winner, but he respects the tradition and the culture that has already been set. And so I believe that's what LSU has to do. They either have to hire from within, someone who understands the culture, understand what it means to be an LSU Tiger, or someone from the outside who is a known winner, regardless of the level, but still respects the tradition of the Tigers. I look at Curt Cignetti, Indiana. Coming from JMU, this wasn't a home run hire per se, right, when he was first hired. But he said it best. I know how to win. Google me. He was a known winner, and he still comes to Indiana and respects the tradition that they have and knows how to recruit in the state of Indiana. Look at Ryan Day. Again, not a home run hire coming from Urban Meyer for Ohio State. But guess what? He was from within, and he bleeds scarlet and gray. He knows what it means to be a Buckeye, and that's what matters. And now he's a national champion. Dan Lanning, again, he was a coordinator, comes to Oregon, understands the O, understands the state of Oregon, loves it. His family resides there, and he understands the culture. Mike Elko at Texas A&M. Again, another guy who wasn't necessarily considered a home run hire because he came from a smaller school, but he understands what it means to be an Aggie. Kirby Smart, two-time national champion. If you remember Kirby Smart when he was first hired, he came from being a coordinator at Alabama. He wasn't some huge coach who already had national championships, who had already won a lot, but he understands how to win. He understands how to win. And so I think LSU is going to either have to take a big swing hire, which is risky, or hire someone from within or someone who is maybe from a smaller school who knows how to win. Here's the calls that I think LSU will make. I think they'll call Lane Kiffin, obviously. I think they'll call Nick Saban, previous head coach of the LSU Tigers. He won a national championship with them. I think they'll call Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's name has been thrown around a lot, and I think he will certainly be in the mix to be an LSU Tiger. But here's what I think about. One name I didn't mention, Marcus Freeman. He was another guy who was hired from within. Right? You look at Notre Dame, Brian Kelly leaves for LSU, and then Marcus Freeman, a player's coach, no one really knew who he was. I didn't. I'll say it. I didn't know who he was. But then he was hired, and he understands what it means to be at Notre Dame. He knows how to recruit. He knows how to win, and he loves his players. The players love him back. Here's the thing about Brian Kelly is I don't think the players loved him. The players did not like Brian Kelly, and that's hard to win at this level if you don't at least have the players. If you don't at least have them, you're not going to win, especially not at LSU. So I think they should be looking at Brent Key, known winner, Clark Lee, known winner, John Summerall from Tulane, 38-10 in FBS career, ties to Louisiana, obviously Tulane's in Louisiana. I think he'd be a great hire. And here's what I'll say lastly, is that I believe college football is better when the LSU Tigers are on top of the SEC. So I hope they make a good hire, and I hope they get back to where they belong, and that's competing for a national championship. Nonetheless, let's get to the games from Saturday. Ole Miss 34, Oklahoma 26 in Norman. Oklahoma led entering the fourth quarter 26-25, and I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, is Ole Miss really about to blow another lead? Obviously, think back to the Georgia game. They were up in that one, and then they blow the lead, they lose. And coming into this game, Oklahoma's defense had only been allowing 9.4 points per game. That was second in the country. And coming into this game, Oklahoma's defense had only been allowing 9.4 points per game. That was second in the country behind only Ohio State. So the story of this game was the Ole Miss offense versus the Oklahoma defense. Strength versus strength. Best versus best. Who was going to win? And obviously it turned out to be the Ole Miss offense. Right? 431 total yards of offense. Trinidad Chambliss was excellent. 315 yards passing. He had 53 yards rushing as well. And Oklahoma, defensively, they only had one sack. One sack. This was a team that led the country in pressures, led the country in sacks, and excellent defense. And they were only able to get to Trinidad Chambliss one time. Brent Venables talked about it, how they were not able to generate enough pressure. Their spy was not good enough. And here's the thing about a quarterback spy, right? Is you can have someone watching the quarterback, but if that man does not do his job, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And they were sitting back and making Trinidad Chambliss pass the ball. But here's the thing. Trinidad Chambliss is just as effective of a passer as he is a runner. In fact, I'd say he's more of a passer than a runner. We saw that Saturday. John Mateer was not back to form still. 17 for 31, only 223 yards, and only 17 rushing yards. It just was not a good game for John Mateer, and it's really saddening to see how since his hand surgery, he hasn't been able to return back to form. Hopefully, he will get there, but moving forward, he's got to be better. And this was the problem for Oklahoma as a whole, and Oklahoma's offense is in order for them to win, John Mateer had to be Superman. He had to put on a cape. John Mateer, if he does not play his best, this team doesn't win. They don't win. He has not been the same since his thumb surgery. We saw that against Texas. We saw that really against South Carolina too, and we saw that again Saturday versus Ole Miss. Their next 4 games is a gauntlet, absolute gauntlet. They go at Tennessee, at Tuscaloosa to play Alabama, home versus Missouri, and then home versus LSU. So now the question is, can they afford one more loss? Can Oklahoma go 9-3 and still make the playoffs? It's debatable. It's debatable, and we'll see how it shakes up. I think if say they lose to Alabama, but they beat Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU, it's comparable. It's comparable, but 3 losses, we saw it last year. It's going to be really hard to get into the playoffs. And here's the thing for Oklahoma, and Brent Venables knows it. John Mateer knows it. This whole team knows it. They've got to win out. They have no choice but to win out. There's no reason for them to put it in the hands of the committee because we've seen in the past that that does not work. This defense has to get back in form. What was previously one of the best, debatably the best defense in the country, they haven't been that the past 3 weeks. They haven't. They've got to tackle better. Brent Venables said that. They've got to be better. They've got to contain the quarterback better, get more pressure. I believe that they will get back to form, but it's got to be quick because they go to Knoxville, Tennessee next week. Let's talk a little bit about Ole Miss moving forward. Next week, they're home versus South Carolina, then home versus the Citadel. What are we doing? The Citadel? Really? Home versus Florida, and then at Mississippi State. I think that's an extremely, I won't say easy, but it's favorable. It's favorable for Ole Miss. And now you're looking, and you should be 11-1 heading into the championship game. You should be. They're currently 4th in the SEC standings behind Georgia, Alabama, and Texas A&M. I don't know if they will get into the championship game being 11-1, right? They've got to get some help probably. They likely need Georgia, Alabama to lose. Texas A&M, I think they can afford one more loss and still be in the SEC championship game. But they should be 11-1, and that means that they would likely host a first-round playoff game. And that crowd is going to be electric. Lane Kiffin, can you imagine if he wins that game? He wins a playoff game. He was 11-1 throughout the regular season. Now the question is Lane Kiffin really going to leave? Does he leave if his team goes 11-1 and wins a home playoff game? I don't know. I think things changed a little bit with the breaking news of Brian Kelly getting fired. I think he is certainly first in line for that job, maybe behind only Nick Saban. He's obviously first in line for the Florida job. Penn State will certainly be giving him a call. But I don't know if he leaves. Lane Kiffin has stated in the past that he wants to stay in Oxford. His family lives there. We'll see. If he goes 11-1, though, and winning a playoff game, I think those chances of him leaving dwindle. And I think Ole Miss will certainly be giving him a bag for him to stay. Speaking of Lane Kiffin, how about the end of the game? Smack-talking David Stone. I mean, listen, this is what makes college football so amazing. Like, where in the NFL do you see a head coach, one during the game, and then after the game, after winning the game, smack-talking a player? Like, we just don't see it. Lane Kiffin, love him or hate him, he's good for the sport, man. He is good for the sport. He's an incredible guy. He is hilarious. Never change, Lane. Never change. All right, let's talk about Alabama and South Carolina. Alabama 29, South Carolina 22. And I'll just say this. Winning on the road in college football is hard. Point blank, period. It's hard. It's not easy. But this is the first time since playing Florida State that Alabama just simply did not look good. They didn't look good today. Kalen DeBoer knows it, even though he said, right, we just got away with a win, as long as we win. Right, he'll say that to the press, but in that locker room, he is certainly saying to that team, we got to play better. And they know it. Listen, Alabama was up 14-6 at halftime. Then South Carolina scores 16 unanswered points. They go up 22-14 with 10 minutes to go. And then here come the Tide. Here comes Ty Simpson, the Heisman frontrunner. and they tie the game. They get the 2-point conversion, and here we go. South Carolina with the ball. 2 minutes to go. And Lenore Sellers fumbles on his own 37-yard line. I mean, what? What? Fumbles. Less than 2 minutes to go. And obviously, Alabama wins the football game. Alabama, man, I mean, coming off of 4 straight top 15 opponents. Listen, they have a bye week next week, and they certainly deserve it. We knew, people could likely tell that coming into this game, it would be hard for Alabama. It was a trap game. People said that. Coming off of those 4 big games now, you think you can take a little bit of a rest. But as I said, winning on the road, especially in the SEC, it's hard. You got to be on top of your game every single week. But as I said, they have a bye week next week. Then they play at home versus LSU, at home versus Oklahoma, at home versus Eastern Illinois. Again, what are we doing? And then at Auburn. So, favorable schedule, somewhat. I mean, it's hard. LSU obviously just fired Brian Kelly, so, how hard is that game really going to be at home? Home versus Oklahoma, that's a dangerous one. That is a dangerous one. Oklahoma is still playing for their season. They're going to be desperate. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. Alabama's got to watch out for that one. And then at Auburn, we'll see how that plays out. But here's the question I have for Alabama is, can they sustain not being able to run the football? My goodness, they cannot run the football. We're talking about Alabama, the same program that built their national championships on guys like Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, TJ Yeldon. I can go on and on and on. And they can't run the football. They had 72 yards rushing versus South Carolina. They're averaging 118 rushing yards per game. That is third least in the SEC. Alabama, can they be able to not run the football? See, here's the thing. If Alabama can't run the football, at what point do teams just say, all right, we're just going to play the pass and let you run the football. We're going to make our front four stop your offensive line and your running back, and we believe you can't run the football. We're just going to play the pass. And then what? And then what? What is Alabama going to do? They have all these weapons on the outside. They have Ty Simpson throwing the ball. They have Jeremy Bernard. They have Ryan Williams. They have all these guys. But if you can't run the football first, if you can't have some sort of balance, I'm not saying they have to be some elite running team. We saw last year, Ohio State wasn't an elite running the football team, but they had balance. They could at least play off of both sides. But if Alabama can't do that, are they seriously going to win the national championship? They've got to fix it. They've got to fix it. They've got to be better. Talking about South Carolina moving forward. Listen, Lenore Sellers, the question is, does he transfer? Does he stay another year? Meanwhile, is Beamer Ball at South Carolina coming to an end? He's gone 29-22 during his first 4 years, 11-16 in SEC play. I'll just say this. I think winning at a program like South Carolina that maybe hasn't come from national championship success, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. I think Shane Beamer is a good coach. I don't know him personally, but he's certainly a good coach. He is. He has the record for the most wins in the first 4 years of any South Carolina head coach. That's above Steve Spurrier. He knows what he's doing. I think he's here to stay. I think Lenore Sellers will run it back next year. And they've got to clean some things up, but listen, we'll see him next year. All right, we'll see him next year. How about where game day was at? Nashville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt 17, Missouri 10. And I'll just start off by saying this. Part of the game is injuries, man. And it sucks. It sucks to see guys get injured. Obviously, Bo Perbula out for the season with a torn ankle ligament. It's sad to see because he is an incredible player, and I believe in him. I got to see him at Penn State when he was first playing there, and have seen the quarterback that he has progressed into at Missouri. I believe in him and what he is doing. But prayers up for him and his family and his coaching staff. I think Missouri, it's a tough blow, but it's part of the game. It's part of the game. Part of the reason that Ohio State won the national championship last year was they were able to deal with injuries. So now the question is, how can Missouri deal with injuries? How can other teams like Texas Tech deal with injuries? We'll talk about that a little later. But my concern is for Vanderbilt. Like, how good is Vanderbilt really? They struggled in this game. They struggled against a 19-year-old quarterback. If you remember the game, it's 10-10, right? Vanderbilt scores, and then it comes down to a Hail Mary. So that was 1 yard short. Missouri was right there to send the game to overtime and potentially win with a 19-year-old quarterback. How good is Vanderbilt really? They've got to be better. Pavia really struggled, didn't have a touchdown pass. He threw an interception. The offense was just stagnant. They've got to be a lot better. And listen, the only time they've played a top 5 team in the SEC, they got throttled. That was Alabama. I believe that their schedule is legit. They throttled South Carolina, obviously beating Missouri. They have some good wins, but they're going to have to be better, and Pavia has to be more efficient with the football. Struggling against a 19-year-old quarterback, a freshman quarterback, at home, nonetheless, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow. Let's talk about the Texas A&M game. We already kind of talked about it with Brian Kelly. But moving forward, they've got at Missouri, just coming off their loss, obviously, have the freshman quarterback starting, versus South Carolina, versus Samford, and then at Texas. I think Texas A&M can afford even one more loss and still make the SEC championship game. Absolutely. Absolutely. Texas A&M, folks, is legit. Marcel Reed is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's electric. These receivers on the outside, my goodness, they are fast. Mike Elko is building an absolute national championship contender, and I'd be surprised if this team didn't go deep into the offseason, deep into the postseason. I'd be surprised. Let's talk about a couple more games throughout college football. Texas survives Mississippi State in overtime, 45-38. Arch Manning had his best game in that one. Went 29 for 46, 63% completion percentage, 346 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns. He played well. Arch Manning finally looked good. That defense, though, I mean, coming into the season, we thought this is the best defense in college football, bar none. Right? Maybe there was a conversation there between a few teams, but Texas was certainly up there. And now the season has progressed, and man, how disappointing has it been for Texas? I mean, it's week 9, and Arch Manning has had his first actually good game. I know we played well against Sam Houston, but that's Sam Houston we're talking about. This is against Mississippi State on the road. This is legit. Obviously, he left the game. I believe it was in overtime with a concussion. He should be back next week. But they've got somewhat of a gauntlet. Not even somewhat. They've got a gauntlet. They play at home versus Vandy. That's going to be a great game. At Georgia, home versus Arkansas, and then home versus Texas A&M. They got to win out. Texas is playing every single game for their season. Arch Manning has to be that good every single time, and the defense has to be better. I mean, it's week 9, and this is the first time really all season that Arch Manning has lived up to the expectations that he had, albeit high expectations, but expectations nonetheless. He looked well. He looked good against Sam Houston. But that's Sam Houston. This is Mississippi State on the road. That's a legit environment. That's a legit game. He played well. Left the game in overtime, but they end up getting the win. They've got to be better moving forward. Arch Manning has to be better. He'll likely be back next year. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. They're playing every game now to make the playoffs. Steve Sarkisian addressed the media and his team amid NFL rumors. And I'll just say this. Steve Sarkisian is a stand-up guy. He's a stand-up guy. To stand up in front of the media and say what he said, addressing the rumors, obviously he had to say that so he didn't lose the locker room. But nonetheless, he said it. And he's a stand-up guy for that. I believe that he is here to stay at Texas. What he has built is already elite. I mean, remember what Texas came from, right, with Sam Ehlinger. They were trying so hard to get back to a place where they were competing for a national championship. And now they are finally back to that. I don't believe Steve Sarkisian will leave. He has built and he has put his hands in the plow at Texas. I believe he's here to stay, and I'm glad he addressed the NFL rumors. Going forward, like I said, they've got to be better. Let's talk about Texas Tech. Breaking news, quarterback Will Hammond is out for the season with a torn ACL. This is the second quarterback injury that they have had to deal with. It's tough, man. It's tough. Coming off of a 42-0 win versus Oklahoma State, Will Hammond left in the second quarter. He was the backup to Baron Morton. He is week to week, Baron Morton that is. He's week to week with a leg injury. He was suited up at halftime. We'll see if he comes back soon enough. But Texas Tech, man, they have been riddled with injuries. And this is part of college football as we know it today, is staying healthy. It's part of winning with how long the season is. We'll see how it works out for them. Moving forward, it'll be Mitch Griff's for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. He threw for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns in their 42-0 win over Oklahoma State. Man, how about the Red Raiders and quarterbacks? I mean, I won't say lucked out, obviously, because they've had 2 guys injured, but to have 3 quarterbacks that are all competent and can play football, wow, that's incredible. They face BYU November 8th for a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game. That's a huge one. We'll see if Baron Morton comes back in that one. We'll see. But if not, Texas Tech has to get ready. I still believe in them. I still believe that they will make the playoffs. But that game is huge. BYU, Texas Tech. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Whoever is listening, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I love this sport, like I said, and I plan on doing 2 to 3 episodes per week. Leave a like, leave a comment down below, and we will see you soon on the PNR Show. All right.